Have you ever had a moment where a single sentence, just one string of words, completely shatters the world you thought you lived in? Where everything you believed about your family, your security, your past, just evaporates. This is the story of how my grandmother's casual, smiling comment over Thanksgiving turkey unraveled a lie 10 years in the making. And how I, the quiet, trusting grandson, decided to fight back. Let me take you back. My grandmother, Eleanor, wasn't just family. She was my anchor. My parents worked constantly, building their small business from the ground up. But Grandma's house? That was my sanctuary. The smell of gingerbread, the sound of her old records, the way she'd listen to my dreams like they were the most important plans in the world. When I was 12, she sat me down at her kitchen table, the one with the little chip in the corner. She took my hands in hers, her skin soft and papery. "My dear boy," she said, her eyes so serious. "Your future. That's all that matters to me. I've started a college fund for you. Just for you. It's our secret project. Every birthday, every Christmas, instead of a big toy, I'll put money in there. And by the time you're 18, you'll have your ticket to any future you want." It was our sacred pact. For years, I'd watch her write in a little leather-bound ledger. She'd show me the numbers, growing steadily. "See that?" she'd whisper. "That's your engineering degree." Or, "That chunk right there? That's for your books." That fund wasn't just money. It was her faith in me, crystallized. It was the physical proof of her love. My parents were in on it, of course. They'd beam with pride. "Grandma's making sure you're taken care of," my dad would say. "We're putting everything into the business, so this is her gift to you." It all made perfect sense. We were a team. My trust in them was absolute, built on 1,000 small moments of care. When my acceptance letter to university came, the first person I called was Grandma Eleanor. Her cry of joy through the phone is a sound I'll always cherish. She handed me a beautiful, embossed envelope. "For your books and settling in," she said. Inside was a generous check. "The main fund," she explained, "is all set up. The bank will handle the tuition payments directly each semester. You don't have to worry about a thing. Just go and learn." And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I went off to university, my heart full, my future secure. Or so I thought. The first hint was so small I brushed it off. The second semester bill had a late fee. A tiny one. When I mentioned it to my parents, they fumbled. "Oh, must be a clerical error with Grandma's bank," my mom said quickly. "We'll sort it out." And they did. The fee was gone. I buried my slight unease under a mountain of exams. But the universe has a way of making sure the truth can't stay hidden forever. The stage for the explosion was set with a linen tablecloth, fine china, and the smell of roasting turkey. It was Thanksgiving Day. The house was warm, filled with the chaotic, loving noise of family. My parents were hosting, bustling around. And there was Grandma Eleanor, holding court at the head of the table, radiant. I was home, a successful sophomore year under my belt, feeling grateful. I'd just finished a story about a fascinating and expensive architectural design seminar I'd taken, funded by the extra money for my book fund. Grandma had been listening with a smile. Then, as the laughter died down, she reached for the cranberry sauce. She looked right at me, her eyes twinkling with that familiar, loving light. And she said it. "I'm just so glad," she said, her voice sweet and clear, "that you're finally enjoying that college fund." The table carried on for a second. A cousin asked for the potatoes. But for me, the world froze. Finally enjoying it? The word echoed. Finally, but I'd been using it for 2 years. All from that fund, right? I must have looked confused because her smile widened. "Well, you know," she continued, as if explaining to a child, "since we transferred it to you last year. I'm happy you're putting it to good use." A cold wave washed over me, from my scalp down to my feet. Transferred to me last year, but I never received a transfer. My tuition was paid directly. Weren't they? My eyes snapped to my parents. My mother's fork had paused halfway to her mouth. My father's smile had become rigid. The color had drained from his face. In that instant, in that silent, screaming look that passed between them,
I saw it. Panic. Guilt.
the foundation of my life cracked open. The rest of the dinner was a blur. A nightmare played out against a backdrop of pumpkin pie. I moved mechanically, my mind racing. The late fee, their quick dismissal, the fact that I'd never seen a statement. I just trusted. Later, as I helped clear dishes, my father cornered me in the kitchen. "Son," he said, his voice low and strained. "About what Grandma said, she's getting older. She gets confused about dates. That money was transferred ages ago, when you started. She must have forgotten." But I had seen his face at the table. That wasn't the face of a man dealing with confusion. That was the face of a man whose secret had just been spoken aloud. That night, in my old childhood bedroom, the investigation began. Not with confrontations, but with quiet, digital digging. I logged into my student portal. I tracked every payment. And then I saw it. The pattern. The tuition payments for my first year? They came from an account in my parents' business name, not from a trust. For my second year, from a different account, under my father's name alone. There was no third-party college fund administrator. There never had been. So where had all that birthday and Christmas money gone? The money from my generous grandmother, faithfully saved for over a decade? A horrible, sinking feeling took root. I felt sick. Betrayed doesn't even begin to cover it. This was a theft of my future, orchestrated by the people I trusted most, wrapped in a lifetime of lies. But anger is a powerful motivator. And in that moment, my heartbreak began to harden into something else. A cold, clear resolve. This wasn't over. They had taken my trust. Now, I would uncover their truth. The week after Thanksgiving was the loneliest of my life. I walked through campus like a ghost. My home had become a crime scene. I had to be careful. My first move was the hardest. I went to Grandma Eleanor. I needed the source. I visited her under the guise of wanting hot chocolate. My heart pounded as I casually brought up the fund. Her face lit up. "Oh, that old thing," she said. She fetched the ledger. My hands trembled as I held it. Page after page, in her meticulous handwriting. $100 from John's birthday. $500 Christmas gift. The final total took my breath away. "See," she said proudly. "I gave the whole thing to your father to manage. He showed me the paperwork, all very official. He's a good son." My blood ran cold. He showed me the paperwork. The lie was so complete, it had fooled even the architect of the fund herself. I took pictures of every page. This was the blueprint of their betrayal. Next, public records. I searched for any trust fund in my name. Nothing. I looked at my parents' business filings. And that's where I found the first tangible clue. 2 years before college, their business had taken out a significant loan for business expansion. The timing was suspicious. The first year's tuition payments roughly matched the payments on that loan. A theory, ugly and undeniable, was forming. They had used my college fund as capital for their business. Grandma's gifts had been funneled into a struggling company. I made an appointment at my bank. I was polite, confused. "I'm trying to reconcile some gifts," I explained. The manager, an older woman, looked at me with pity. After some tapping, her face grew solemn. "Young man," she said quietly, "there is no trust account under your name at this institution. Not now, and our system shows not ever." There it was. The final confirmation. The fund was a fairy tale. The grief was overwhelming. This wasn't just about money. It was about every birthday where I'd hugged them, grateful. It was about their financial stress I'd worried about, never knowing I was the unwitting piggy bank. The betrayal was intimate, total, but a new emotion began to push through. A demand for justice, a moral reckoning. They lived in a house of cards built on my future. I was going to make them see every single card. I wouldn't scream. I would be smarter. I would be a mirror. The revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be a revelation, a carefully staged, undeniable exposure. And I knew exactly where and when.
Christmas Day.
for weeks away. Revenge fueled by truth requires a plan. My goal was to destroy the lie, not them. The where was just as important. Another family gathering. The whole family, including Grandma. The same audience for the final act. My plan had 3 phases. Phase 1, the bait. I called my parents. I told them I was thinking of writing a heartfelt thank you letter to the family for Christmas. I could almost hear their relieved sigh. They thought the slip had been buried. Phase 2, the arsenal. I compiled my evidence. The ledger photos. My payment history. The business loan record. A 1-page summary. I made copies. This was my truth. Phase 3, the performance. I had to master my emotions. I rehearsed. I anticipated every deflection. I had to speak in facts, be a prosecutor, with the family as the jury. The night before, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling. Was I about to destroy my family? Or was I removing a cancerous lie so something real could grow? As I drove to their house on Christmas Day, a strange peace settled over me. The anxiety was gone. The hurt was a foundation now, not a tsunami. I was the bearer of truth. The house was decorated, glowing. Laughter spilled out. I took a deep, freezing breath. It was time for the truth to come home for Christmas. The morning was a pantomime. We exchanged gifts. I smiled. I made small talk. I was the perfect son. But inside, I was a coiled spring. The moment came after the big meal. In the living room lull. It was time. "Hey, everyone," I said, my voice calm. "If I could have your attention." I mentioned I wanted to say a little thank you. My parents smiled, unsuspecting. I reached for my bag and pulled out the folders. I handed one to my father, one to my mother, one to my grandmother. I made a little presentation, I said, about the incredible support that got me through college. I watched their faces. My father's smile froze, then melted into confusion at the ledger total. My mother's hand went to her throat. Grandma looked pleasantly curious. "Oh, my old book," she chirped. "Page 1, I announced, my voice gaining a quiet, steady clarity. "Is the total of the college fund due, Grandma, built for me over 12 years. I looked at my parents. "Page 2 is all my tuition payments and the accounts they came from.
Your business account, Dad.
Your personal line of credit." The room was dead silent. "Page 3 is the public filing for your business loan. The one you used to pay my first year, after the fund money was redirected." My father's face was scarlet. "What is this?" he sputtered. "This is private family business. That loan was for the business." "To pay my tuition?" I asked, genuinely curious. "That doesn't explain the original money. Where did that money go, Dad? If it wasn't in a trust, where is it?" The dam broke. My mother started to cry. My father stood up, towering.
"How dare you?"
"After everything we've sacrificed, we were going to pay it back. You have no right." "I have every right," I said, my voice rising, cutting through. The room jumped. "I have the right to know what happened to money given in my name. You took gifts meant for me and put them into a failing business. You lied to Grandma. You lied to me. For years." I turned to my grandmother. Her face was pale. "Grandma," I said, softening, "did you ever see a bank statement? Or did Dad just show you paperwork?" She looked at my father, her beloved son, and in her eyes, I saw a profound, heartbreaking disappointment. "John," she whispered, her voice cracking, "you told me it was all set. You showed me those papers." My father deflated. The fight left him. He sank into his chair, unable to meet her gaze. That was the moment. Not my anger, but my grandmother's shattered trust. The lie was now naked and ugly. An aunt gasped. The family jury had reached its verdict. I closed my folder. "I'm not asking for a scene," I said, tired. "I'm not even asking for the money back right now. I'm asking for the lie to end.
Today.
I have student debt you told me I'd never have. I have memories that are now poisoned." I looked at my crying mother, my defeated father, my heartbroken grandmother. "You built this family on a secret. And secrets like this, they rot the foundation." I picked up my coat. The Christmas gathering was over. The immediate aftermath was a nuclear winter of silence. I went back to school. My phone didn't ring. I felt empty. Then, a week later, an email from my father. It was long, full of justifications. But near the end, we were wrong. What we did was a betrayal. There is no excuse. We are so ashamed. It was a start. An acknowledgement. A month later, a registered letter. A notarized repayment plan. My parents, with grandma as witness, would repay every penny from the ledger, with interest, into an account in my name. It was legally sound. It was their tangible admission of guilt. I didn't celebrate. The money could never buy back the trust. But it was justice. Structured, quiet justice. The person I rebuilt with was Grandma. I visited her often. She was furious, devastated. "I was so proud of helping you," she told me, crying. And they turned my love into a transaction. Our bond, though scarred, became deeper, more honest. My relationship with my parents, that was a longer road. The first meetings were stiff, agonizingly polite. The lie was a ghost. But because it was exposed, something slow began to grow. A new, cautious respect. At my graduation, they were there. Grandma front and center, beaming. My parents stood further back. We took pictures. They were stiff, but they were there. The repayment plan was ongoing. Every deposit was a silent reminder, but also a commitment to a new honesty. So, what's the lesson? When I set out to expose them, I thought I was fighting for money, for my stolen future. But what I was really fighting for was my right to reality, my right to live in truth, not in a comfortable lie. Betrayal by family is a unique poison. It breaks your trust in your own judgment. Here's what I learned. The love wasn't necessarily fake, but it was compromised, conditional on maintaining their secret. My peace of mind was the price for theirs. My revenge wasn't about hurting them back. It was about stopping the hurt they were actively causing. It was a boundary, drawn in the stark ink of truth. By exposing them, I said, "You cannot build my life on your lie anymore." It was the most painful, necessary thing I've ever done. Would I do it again? Knowing the pain it caused, it's hard. But I know this. Living in the lie was slowly destroying me from the inside. Living in the truth, however painful, set me free. The money they're repaying is helpful, but it's not the point. The point is the acknowledgement. The point is that I am no longer a character in their story of deception. I am the author of my own, and it is built on honesty. If you're holding a secret that's burning you up, know this. Truth has weight. It has gravity. It might shatter your world, but it's the only foundation strong enough to build a real life upon. It's the only revenge that doesn't leave you hollow, but leaves you, finally, with a solid place to stand.